Okay, welcome to yet another SEO Hangout with Josh Bachynski. That's me. Or as I've been calling it lately, SEO Rant, because I still haven't upgraded my Mac yet to upgrade the browser to see if I can get back onto Google Hangouts. But if you have any questions, I don't just have to rant, I can answer questions. So, you can always contact me at joshbachynski@gmail.com with any SEO questions or needs, or questions for this Hangout. And you can also get in touch with me on Twitter at Josh Bachynski. And in case you don't know where you are right now, you are probably on YouTube, and my channel is /jbachyns, JBACHYNS. So there's that. Anyway, so here is the SEO stuff that's been going on this week, or the April 8th. I'm still in April 8th talking about the crazy stuff that happened then. And some actually very interesting stuff, so let's get right to it. Okay, so the very first thing is, do you want to see what a site looks like when it's penalized? I have a site here. I'm not outing this site. They already publicly gave out their URL, so I'm not the one putting it out there. It's yourcityoffice.com, yourcityoffice.com. And they asked, I believe John Mueller was, or someone, I don't know where I got this from. But, and they had some kind of a penalty. I didn't even write down what kind of penalty it was. If it was Penguin or Panda or what it was. It doesn't really matter at this point. So check them out. Check out what they have on page to see what you think they could be doing better or worse, and see if it looks like your site, if you think your site is better or worse. And look at their backlinks. I noticed that they had a lot of forum profile links. The only link, only a link in the forum profile, and it was exact match query link. Exact match query means it's the exact thing they want to rank for. So let's say they wanted to rank for buy red apples. All their links had buy red apples in them, linking to a buy red apples page on buyredapples.com with buy red apples in the title. It was probably Penguin, because that's exactly what Penguin looks for. Also, they only had a very small block of IP addresses linking to them, so that's a dead giveaway to Google as well. And they had links from different languages when this was not a multilingual site. It had nothing to do with multi-language topics. So the question is, well, why is there multi-language linking to them? Spam. So, also they had a lot of spammy press release links. Some people out there seem to think that press release links get a pass or something. No, they don't. They're duplicated. If they have exact match query links in them that have commercial intent, then they can be, they run the gamut of giving you a Penguin penalty, of being automatically devalued because they look too suspect, and or if you go above a certain threshold, those links and any other kinds of these commercial spammy links, you will get targeted for a manual penalty. I've seen it so many times. So they had that, and their duplicate content there. Again, there was exact match query. The press releases were put on sites that have many different topics, so that's not a good thing either to have. And because again, that's where people put spam links, right? And I keep seeing these white things float around. What are those? I don't have any bugs in here. What are those, ghosts? Oh, I saw it again. That's weird. Must be some kind of ghost or optical illusion or something. Okay, and maybe because I have the window partly open, it's got dust or something. Don't tell me I have to dust now, all right? I already make these videos. Don't say, Josh, you have to dust your office. All right? That's what the non-existent janitors were. Okay, and also the links, all those were spun very badly, very clearly spun, grammatical errors, things like that. So check it out, yourcityoffice.com. I'm sorry if you own that site. I didn't put it out there. You did, I think, or someone did. It wasn't me. But we can all now learn from these kinds of issues, and things will get better. And if you feel angry that I did this, by all means contact me, and I will give you free SEO advice. There you go. It's the best I can do. There's more ghosts. Look at them. It's crazy. I'm closing this window. Hold on. There we go. Now there won't be any ghosts. Of course, I could be hallucinating because if you could see, I'm dipping into the buka. Okay, now, Metcut's released a video. I talked about it already. It's the one about buying links. Where, if you have, now this is backwards, so I'll get confused. So if you have site A linking to site, or it's backwards, B and C, and B's links are paid, they will penalize site A by devaluing all the outlinks. All the links that come out of that site get automatically no-followed. So that means that site B over here, who didn't have any paid links, but still had links on site A, it's backwards, sorry. Because these are all no-followed, this site's going to lose all its page rank. So I already talked about that and how it's a negative SEO gold mine and yada, yada, yada. So look at my video last week or email me for information about that. Not that I do negative SEO, but theoretically, if you'd like to speak academically about how that works, you may email me. So then the question was, okay, well then there's no danger buying links, right? I don't know if I talked about this last week, so I'll talk about it again, because I like that. There's no danger in buying links. You can buy all the links you want, or the worst that's going to happen, you're not going to get penalized, according to what Matt Cutts said in this video. You're just going to, suddenly your links will just stop giving you any page rank. And when that happens, this site over here, the site that's selling the links, its page rank is going to go down. Matt Cutts said that's why they keep the page rank toolbar around, essentially, so they can show you that we gave you a page rank penalty, and now the page rank is down, so hopefully people won't buy links there anymore. Jolly gimmickers. Now, that's the kind of thing he said. I make myself laugh. But good, because I'm probably the only one I make laugh. But the problem is that, okay, so you can keep buying links then, and nothing's going to happen to you except you're going to get links to valid. So when you see the page rank on that site go down, stop paying for that link. Or if you're in doubt and you're wondering if the link is useful at all, stop paying for the link for a few months, see if your ranking goes down. If it does, pay for the link again, and the rank should shoot back up. If it doesn't, then don't pay for the link anymore and hire an SEO to do an analysis, or get your SEO to do an analysis because something else is wrong, right? So we asked John Mueller about this because this sounded like happy speak from Mr. Cutts. And he's very good at giving us happy speak, which is speak that makes us happy and not worried about our SEO woes. And Mr. Mueller, as per usual, was a little bit more forthcoming, a little bit more verbose, a little bit more technically savvy in his response. And he said, yeah, you don't have to worry about it if someone else has been buying links. You don't have to worry about their mistake harming you. But if the majority of your backlinks follow that kind of paid sidebar link pattern, you will get a manual penalty. And I can personally attest to that. I had a site that only had about 17 links into it in total, because it was like a brochure site for this big brand I was managing. They don't need it to rank, they don't care if it ranks, but it was like their big brand site. It only had 17 links, and like 80% of them were from a sidebar from some other site. And that site got a manual penalty with 17 backlinks. And so I wrote them and I said, I'm assuming, a very snarky letter, I've said this before, but that was many videos ago. I wrote them and I said, in a reconsideration request, I said, I'm assuming that the reason why this site got a manual penalty is because it has these sidebar links here. And I showed them. I said, they're perfectly natural. This is an attribution link. I can ask this person to remove the links if you want, but I don't see why I should. In brackets, F off. I didn't actually put the brackets, but that was implied, right? So, and then within a week, the penalty was removed. Maybe they saw it was coming from me, and they're like, don't want to mess with Josh. No, almost certainly not. In fact, if I wrote one now, put my name in it, who knows what they would say. Might send assassins after me. Good thing I know Kung Fu. So, so if you do it too much, according to John Mueller, of course that can hurt you. So keep that in mind. But so who's right, who's wrong? Probably John Mueller. But if you err on the side of caution and you've been careful in all the linking you're doing, you can still use this strategy and keep buying links. And the worst thing that will happen is that suddenly this will just be useless. You'll be paying for useless links. So every now and then you just got to test. You got to watch all the links you buy. Keep a spreadsheet of where you bought them. Keep their page rank when you bought it. And then watch to see every time page rank is updated if that page rank goes down. If it does, and it goes down considerably, like 1 point, 2 points, 3 points, then don't pay for that link for a few months. Just tell them you ran out of money or something, or just forgot, or oops, credit card expired or whatever, so you don't lose the link, you don't burn a bridge or whatever. And then see if your ranking goes down. If it doesn't, then you don't need the link. Okay, next thing is rich snippets. Now, rich snippets are the author markup and stuff like that. Primarily, the author markup is really the only one that they're using, except they're using ratings as well, and of course, some people consider the publisher markup correlated with Google Plus to be some kind of rich snippet, but that's not really what we're talking about. We're talking about the author snippet. And what happens if you if you did it wrong or vis-a-vis tried to SEO this in some black hatish way, and they turn it off, how long will it take for them to get it back? The answer is forever. It will take forever for them to for you to get it back. You have to, believe it or not, it's turned off permanently. If you've been doing it wrong in their opinion, they will turn this off permanently until the problem is fixed. You get the proper implementation going, whatever that is you were doing wrong. You're trying to put your product stuff in there, your review stuff, you did it wrong or whatever. You're trying to, fake it. And then, so just changing the markup is not enough. You have to use it correctly, and then you have to contact them. You have to contact someone on the Rich Snippet team. Who that is, I have no idea. So good luck finding them. But this is what had been said by John Mueller. I've said this before. He said this months ago, like probably almost a year ago in August of 2012. And he is, because I've been following his Hangouts for like ever. And yeah, he just said it again. So I thought I'd reiterate it. If you're wondering where your author snippet is, and if it was really giving you a good click-through and you really saw a boost in it, so it'd be worth it to bring it back, that's the deal. That's the dealio. All right. The next thing I asked is, back in the day, circa 2005 or so, it used to be that you could do this thing called Google link bombing, whereas, for example, if enough people link to your page with complete failure or stupid idiot, and then you searched a certain U.S. president's name, you would get those kinds of responses. Or if you searched stupid idiot, you would get the certain U.S. president's name, say around 2001 to 2004 or something like that. I'm not going to mention who that was, but that's called Google link bombing, right? When there's got so much anchor text pointing to a site that they start to believe that your latent semantic index includes that topics. I thought that Google has fixed this. You can't do that anymore, at least not so easily. So that means they must be taking a higher weight to on-page signals, which makes sense, because what better to tell you what that page is about than the page itself and what's on it? So I think this is the way it's working, and so I wanted to find out from John Mueller, and so I asked him, what do you use more these days? Are you using off-page signals to determine what a page is about, or are you using on-page signals to determine what it's about? And he waffled and said that they're using a mix of signals to test for relevancy, that's their terminology, including social, and that they start to detrust what looks like a spammed signal. So they'll start to detrust anchor text that's too off-topic, or like if you have a bunch of Viagra links pointing all of a sudden, they won't suddenly think you're about Viagra, as long as your site has nothing to do with Viagra, right? But if your site, for example, and I know this for a fact because I have a couple customers like this, if your site sells, interesting, colorful kind of products, sex products, and you have a bunch of links from porn sites, they might start to, even though your site's not a porn site, doesn't have any pornographic material on it, they can start to associate your brand, your site, with pornographic material, and you can get hit by the adult filter. So what to do to get out of it? Well, it's difficult. You have to remove those links and change your site considerably. But it it can happen, right? So the long story short is that I take his answer to mean, you can look at it, this is the Hangout from the 8th of April. You can determine for yourself what you think he meant. I took his comments to mean that, yes, they are using off-page less. Off-page is kind of a signal for authority. All the relevancy signals are mostly on-page. And like 10% links and like 10% social, it's 80% what is on that page, because that's the best way to tell you what that page is about. And they're getting good. The search is even better than AdWords, for example. So you can plug your URL into AdWords, and it'll bring back the keywords it thinks that page is supposed to rank for. Make sure you click exact and narrow your responses. So it'll tell you exactly what it thinks that page is supposed to rank for. And see if there's any weird answers in there. If there's weird answers in there, and it does happen sometimes, Google doesn't always know what the page is about perfectly. I wouldn't suggest you go spamming your page with tons of keywords if that's the case, but adding some keywords is still required. For example, I have this client who is a very high-end pet food boutique. I've mentioned them before. And their writing was so good and so succinct that Google didn't even know they sold organic pet food. They thought they sold organic human food because they didn't mention pet very much, because all the pictures were of dogs and cats, and clearly any human can tell they're selling organic pet food. But it wasn't in the text enough, and Google can't see the images. So I told them, I'm sorry, you have to mess up your really nice succinct writing. You have to put the occasional pet here and dog there. They didn't like that, but that's what they had to do, because Google didn't know that that they sold organic pet food. They thought they sold organic food for humans, right? So you still have to stick in some keywords there. So if you're curious, what you're ranking for will tell you. But if you're not ranking for what you think you should be ranking for, this is a test you can do. Go to AdWords, log in or not, whatever. Plug in your URL, either a page or the entire site, and click Show Me Reduced Topics and Exact Match, and it'll tell you what it thinks that page is about. And AdWords is not the same algos they're using in search, but it's similar, and search is a bit better. But it'll give you an idea, and just look at what it thinks you should rank for, and be like, okay, well, why does it think I should rank for this? If you're making a red apple site, it wants you to rank for green banana. It's like, well, that's not even close, right? So then you have to go looking for your site where it found that and remove it, and add a little bit more content of what it is you do want to rank for. Because basically, Google these days has a one-to-one correlation, right? Someone looks for red apple, someone has red apples in their URL or title or an H1 or clearly on page. That page is about red apples. It'll send that traffic there and watch to see what happens. Do the people come back to the SERP and click some other result? Well, then that page wasn't enough about red apples or wasn't good enough on red apples, so they're going to try some other result. And this is part of the reason why we see the Google dance. And I have an experiment to prove that, and I'll be releasing that experiment very soon. Although people from Google, multiple people from Google, Miley Oye and John Mueller have been saying this for months. And I've been saying it for months too. Another thing is very important. You said another spam signal they use, and whether or not they can trust, this is a very interesting conversation that we had, whether or not they can trust any particular group of signals. For example, if your site is like a health site or a medical site or any kind of, basically any site that has any kind of authority you can cite, they require you to cite it. So make sure you're giving good outlinks, right? Outlinks or link outs to whatever to source. Remember, Google is an organization of academics run by academics. So it shouldn't be any surprise that they want you to cite your sources, right? Sorry, you are back in college, and yes, you do have to cite your sources. So, so if you have like a health site, link out to Mayo Clinic, link out to WebMD, link out to Wikipedia. These kinds of links lead credence to your content and makes them trust you more. If you don't have it, it is a panda problem. One out of many. You could still rank really well. They could think you are the authority, right? Okay, the next thing that I found very interesting. This was fascinating. If you don't listen to anything else in this hangout, listen to this. John Mueller also stated that they vary the usage of on or off page signals based on the query, and I quote, the query space, or the page. This means, now a lot of people suspect this, but I've never ever heard Google admit it. So this is a major leak. He admitted that they vary the usage of on or off page signals and how much they trust them based on the query space, based on the query, so I don't know, payday loans or buy cars or fishing gear or info on eczema, right? They'll vary the signals of the pages they serve for those searches. The trust they put in the different signals, they'll vary based on how commercial or how action-based that query is, or how information-based that query is. So commercial to non-commercial, action or do query to no query or info query. They'll change the signals, right? So if it's a particular, so he didn't get into detail to how, obviously that would have been fantastic to know. But basically we can read between the lines here in what he's saying and make some educated guesses. So for example, for obviously commercial type query spaces, they're going to trust certain signals less. They're going to trust usage more, because usage, the harder to spam signals, they're going to trust more. So usage is really hard to spam. Not impossible by any stretch of the imagination. That's why they're so tight-lipped about the exact social usage message they use, because it's easy enough to get a bunch of IP addresses around the world looking like people behaving on your site. to make it look better, right? Ha! There's an idea for a program there, but no one yet believes me that usage metrics are used and which ones are used, which I'm going to prove. So then we can have a program. Of course, I am duty-bound with my white hat SEO white hat on to mention, of course, the easiest way to make Google think you have a great site is to have one. But this message is lost on many of my clients, unfortunately. Yes. So this is fascinating to me. I've never heard Google admit it. Like, everyone suspected this, but Google's never admitted it. So we can imagine that the harder to spam signals are the ones that are going to trust more overall, and especially if you're in a very commercial market. So if you're in a very commercial market, you know how to beat everybody else, just have a great site. Because everyone else in the commercial market seems, for some stupid reason, incapable of making a great site. They want to make the spam you stupid looking site and to throw links at it, blah, like that, because it worked for so long, and because they really don't know how to make a good site, or apparently, I don't know. But if you make, John Mueller's also mentioned numerous times, there's numerous query spaces which are so spammy that everybody there has a manual penalty, and so they could have ranked here. Now they have a manual penalty, so they all have a manual penalty. So there's no relative difference. They're still all ranking here, right? So if you can just make, he said, if you can make a better site that doesn't get a manual penalty, suddenly you'll shoot up because everyone else is starting with this boat anchor, right? It's all relative. So I found that fascinating. So remember, the harder to spam signals are the ones that trust more. That's essential user experience, UX, usage metrics. The ones that they seem to be using very much these days are landing page bounce back to SERP, and you can presume a retry, so you have a low average time on that page. Depending on, unless you're giving weather stats or sports stats or something where people would only look on your page for 7 seconds, but if someone's only paying or seeing your page for like 5 or 10 seconds, they're probably not getting the information they want. Either the server is so slow, they're like, whatever, they go back, or there's a big banner image, like, I don't want to scroll, they go back, or they look at your thin content, one sentence, like, that doesn't give me enough information, or they're looking at your content, there's too much content, it's too busy, they're like, they go back, right? Think about the reasons why you click the back button, so do the people, right? They're using that. He's mentioned return visitors numerous times, so the pages that are not getting return visitors, they can track this. If you don't think they can track this, then get your head out of your sand, because they can, all right? They can track everything, and they're a $40 billion company. Please do not think they cannot get the info if they want it, and they do. And yeah, so returning visitors is also apparently being used, and maybe even internal bounce. I have another question to John. Hopefully he'll answer it, and hopefully the people on that hangout will not vote it down for some stupid reason. I'm going to start black hatting that forum if they keep messing with me. Because like I said, it's very easy to get many people around the world go into your site and also go to a page and voting on something you want to get voted up so that Mr. Mueller will see it. So, and that's probably what they're doing, because no one can be that interested where it's got like 20 votes on a question. That's just a dumb question at that, but in my humble opinion, a dumb question. But of course, they think my questions are dumb, so there you go. There you go. Yes. So, further to the last point. So, make sure you're doing everything you can in the untrusted signals to not put too much weight in them. Spread out your signals across the board. I've spoken many times about not getting locked into the one link silo. There's many silos that you need to put some weight into. If I can use that kind of a metaphor, you need good on page, you need good usage, you need good social, you need good links, you need to have good checks in all the boxes. Okay, now there was another piece of information that came to me, and this also ties into this. Okay, so you guys know what the sales funnel is. The sales funnel, looks like, imagine your standard tornado. Some people call it the learning funnel or the discovery funnel or whatever. Basically, at the top of the funnel, people are looking for information queries. I want to know about red apples. What are red apples? Something like that. And red apples is my go-to query for anything. Herbal pills, weight loss pills, Ford Escorts, whatever it is, right? They want information on this service or product or topic. And then they drill down to maybe a mid-information, so they read a little bit on the first site. Most probably don't buy, depending on how good the site is and how averse buyers are in that particular demographic, how motivated the buyers are in that particular demographic. Maybe they go to a mid-information site, They get a little bit more information. Maybe they find a particular brand they want to look at. Wow, these Macintosh red apples, everyone's talking about them, so they search Macintosh instead, and then they get to the branded site, right? This is half the reason why people have affiliate programs, so that they can cut out their own niche out of nothing. Search niche out of nothing, right? Oldest trick in the book, used to great effect. Get a couple thousand affiliates talking about your XYZ brand, and then suddenly you don't have to compete with the affiliates. Then suddenly people will be searching for the XYZ brand, and then they're pre-sold already, and you can convert them more easily. Not super easily, but more easily. And then at the bottom, and that's the point. At the bottom of the sales funnel, there's less information queries and more do queries, more buy red apples, buy Macintosh, right? Those kinds of things. So you have to imagine, if I am right, and if I'm not the only SEO who thinks this way, if all these SEOs are right, that Google is watching the metrics of people going to a SERP, a search engine results page, clicking on an option, going to that site, tracking their behavior there as much as they can or care to do so. They come back to the SERP and click on another option. If that happens, clearly we're not satisfied with whatever they found here for this search query, right? But you got to imagine, well, if they're up higher in the sales funnel, it implies that, there's got to be a structure there that's not a one-to-one correlation. It's got to be like, they'll still rank a lot of exact match domain probably somewhat crappy information sites at the top, because that's kind of like the appetizer, right? It gets people into the topic. It might not be the closer. It might not be where people close or finish doing stuff. And maybe its usage metrics aren't that great. And this could be part of the reason why people think that usage metrics aren't part of the ranking. But they still can be, right? It's so much more complex than a lot of people kind of give credit for. Google can be like, okay, in their query deserves diversity, their QDD kind of algorithm, where they throw up a bunch of different stuff. We don't know what you want. Here's a bunch of different stuff. Here's a video. Here's a map. Here's a info. Here's a to query. Here's a, maybe you thought this. Maybe you wanted green apples instead of red apples. They throw a bunch of stuff up there and they see what people do. They track this. They've always been tracking this. They see what people do, and then they'll remove stuff based on, people don't like it, right? They've just done it recently with their search tools, related searches. They just removed it, right? So, because no one was clicking on it. So, you have to consider this for your SEO planning, right? So, you have to decide, am I going to be the site that gives the top level info? Am I going to be the middle info site that maybe closes some of the time? Or am I going to be the branded site, whether you're doing a brand or not, maybe even you want to close on the, buy red apples as opposed to buy Macintosh, right? Maybe you just want to close on the generic, but still buying intent search query as opposed to the branded search query. Fine. But which one of those are you going to be? Because that changes everything about your site. That changes how you position it, how you make it look, the content you provide, the end value you're supposed to provide, the search queries you're supposed to try and optimize for, the usage metrics you're supposed to watch, right? That changes everything about it. So this is, in some ways, this is almost the most important thing in SEO, planning this kind of search engine marketing structure from the start and deciding what am I going to be. And I'm going to make all three sites. I'm going to make a whole fleet of sites that can service every single area. That's a very standard plan and tactic as well, right? So also keep in mind that the top information site, unless it's a very unscary area to buy online in, might not be making all the sales. You can also do this same thinking and procedure on the same site, right? You can have your kind of top sales funnel blog articles that link directly in the page internal to the site, to a mid-information product page and then an offer, and then you can kind of convert that way. So, all this rambling doesn't have much more of a point, just to say that you have to realize that Google is aware of how this sales funnel works. And so don't think for a second that they can't be using usage metrics because they can't understand the sales funnel. They get it, all right? They can, if I can explain it, they can understand the sales funnel. And they realize, okay, the top information site, we're going to throw that exact match domain information site up there, even though it's a little bit crappier. Its usage metrics, it has like 80% bounce rate. Not that directly matters, but you get what I mean. We're going to put it up there anyway because it has an exact match. It has an exact match to the query. they're looking for what are red apples. This is whatareredapples.com, right? So we'll throw it up there. It has all the on-page signals to tell us it should answer this question, and it doesn't have completely abysmal usage metrics. So even if they're not that great, the exact matchedness, the specificity of the on-page signals to search query can still allow it to be there, right? So, and then, but if you're not that guy, and you don't necessarily want to be that guy, because he doesn't necessarily always convert or close. If you're going to be the mid-tier or the final end-tier guy, you don't necessarily want to be the exact match domain link. You want to be. You could go the branded route, or you could even just try and sell in the general query. But you realize you have to have a much higher quality, right? You can't be the appetizer and close them. You have to be the main course, if I can use that kind of a metaphor. So the appetizer can exist there. Heck, it's an appetizer. It's supposed to come at the beginning of the meal, right? It's the exact match domain. It matches the thing perfectly. It's it makes sense that Google would throw it up there to see what would happen. And if it's too crappy, Google will remove it at some point, even though it's a very strong signal and there's a limited number of domains to buy. So Google thinks that has kind of like a natural built-in anti-spam protection, right? And once they penalize something, it's kind of gone for almost ever, unless they clean it up. So if you're going to be the top guy, you can be the exact matched guy, and you can get the information there, and maybe that's what you want. Maybe that's part of your business plan. But remember, those guys rarely close, because people's searching patterns are more like, it depends on the niche, and of course, some scientific data to back this up might be good. Who needs scientific data? There are lots of articles on this. I'm not just making this up. But if you want to be if you want to be that guy, you're probably not going to close very well. Again, unless it's like people don't care about buying this online, or it's like $2, who cares, whatever, blah. You can convert that way. The first landing page can convert for sure, but usually for already pre-qualified or so unafraid to buy purchases. Really, what you want to do is be the mid-info or the end-info site, and that site has to be the main course. It has to have wow content, exceed searcher satisfaction, exceed in terms of presentation, in terms of design, in terms of the content you have, in terms of the service, in terms of the price, in terms of the presentation, in terms of how few clicks they had to make that purchase. Everything that can be made better, faster, smoother, easier, nicer, wow for them has to be done. The more you do it, the better you will rank. And John Mueller has said in this exact regard, you don't just have to beat them, you have to kill them. You have to by far be the best site possible if you want to be that kind of at the end of the sales funnel closer kind of guy. If you want to stay there, if you want the Panda algorithm not to just chew up and spit you out, because they love doing that with e-commerce sites. And this bad merchant algorithm that's coming out very soon, which is going to be based, I've mentioned before, but I'll mention again, is going to be based on co-citation. So if you have a bunch of websites saying this site sucks, and with the link, those links are going to count not at all, or at least even possibly negatively. That's how the bad merchant algorithm is going to work, according to John Mueller. He said it before. Or at least he implied it. I asked, he implied. So I take it as truth. Ha 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 ha. So that is the SEO talk for today. That is my SEO rant, my diatribe, my sermon from the mount today. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of the week. And if you have any questions, you can always contact me at joshbachynski@gmail.com or at joshbachynski on Twitter. And my YouTube is /jbachins, and you can also contact me on Google+, where you will also probably find this video. Did I post it last week? I might not have posted the last week's video, so maybe I'll post 2 videos. So anyway, there you go. Bye. See you later, bye.